Hey everyone, Kevin Wagstaff here with Spectora. Today, I have Drew White and Ryan Howell joining me today to talk about the industry, to talk about their businesses, the early growth that they've seen. This will really be helpful for new inspectors and experienced inspectors. So I'll kick it to Drew to just give an introduction and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, cool. Hey, thanks for having us on here. We started American Professional Home Inspection, would have been March 1st of last year. We built it to franchise, so the whole business model was created from the beginning to franchise the company. My partner and I, or my three partners, would be my fiance June, Brody Lotes, and also James Wilbur. So James Wilbur and Brody and I all served together in 10 Special Forces Group. I got out before them, set this up, and then brought them on. So really, it's been a lot of fun. It was just an interesting industry. When I was sort of researching, I was like, I want to buy a roofing company, plumbing company, or whatever. When I settled on home inspections, like here's an area where we can definitely come into and really work the market.
Nice, Ryan.
Well, I actually come from a completely unrelated field, which I found is kind of a common theme in home inspection. It's kind of one of those industries that finds you. And so before this, I had a company in Washington, D.C., we started kind of right out of college. And we did a lot of technology consulting. We actually built out some infrastructure for some systems on Capitol Hill, which doesn't sound very interesting, but it was because we kind of got to do some fun stuff. Also have a background in photography that I got to put to use doing some official photography work while I was there. So I kind of have a more of a creative background, but also have some experience doing some managing teams that, internet applications and mobile apps as well. And then while I was doing that, we kind of did some real estate investing. I would emphasize light real estate investing, whereby we did a couple of flips and made some money there. And that was kind of interesting. I learned a lot of the technical side of building science, and that's part of what kind of led me into home inspection. I wanted to get away from politics in particular, and I didn't really want to start my own web company, so I figured I want to get in the field. And so that was home inspection was just kind of one of those things that felt natural to me, and so one thing led to another.
Very cool. No, and for you viewers out there, I'm having these two guys on the podcast or on the show today because they're two of the more successful new home inspectors that I've seen and that many others have seen and heard of out there. So a lot of what we're going to dive into will be specifics of what they've done, coming from other industries, utilizing technology. But for a lot of you new inspectors out there, this will be helpful from the sense that these two have gotten off to really great starts and are going to be mainstays in the industry. So on that note, Drew, what would you say some of the specifics are that you really attribute to the early growth and to screaming out of the gates like you guys have, or a couple things?
Yeah, I mean, really, it comes down to just your overall marketing strategy. I mean, we sort of dove into many different, the pay-per-click, doing Facebook ads, doing, you name it. We've probably tried Angie's List, Home Advisors, but really what led to the success for us was cold calling, and then also personal visits. So there's no way to get the kind of numbers effectively. There's no other way in my mind than doing cold calling. That's really what it was. So I'd call the realtors, it was myself, or go visit them at their office, or I'd call them, say, hey, look, are you in your office right now? I have some product I'd like to drop by or talk to you. Yeah, sure, I'm in my office. I'd immediately head over there, as opposed to sort of dropping stuff off or coming by unannounced and hoping you catch somebody that you're wanting to talk to. I found it's much better just to reach out to them and call them on the phone, which most realtors are just in shock that a home inspector is even calling them to begin with to prospect and do lead sourcing. So that's sort of where we get some that hang up on me right away, and that's fine. Hey, whatever. And in this industry, I mean, it's just such an untapped resource, and everyone else, there's guys out there that's like, that's just ridiculous. I'm like, well, tell that to almost every Fortune 500 company out there that cold calling or calling people is ridiculous, because that's essentially how almost all of these successful companies build their businesses. And I don't, home inspectors should view themselves in the same light that, hey, look, you are a business, you are a company. You should be using these tactics that other very successful companies are using. And that's what essentially helped us get out the gate so quickly, was the combination of calling and then also following up immediately with personal visits. Because we didn't get a lot with email campaign, like for us, essentially, bounce rates are high, but calling them on the phone, I mean, we were getting to the point where they were giving us their personal emails when we're on the phone with them, because we're like, hey, look, your Keller Williams or your Remax email, there's a strict filter on it. Most of our emails just bounces off. Could I get your personal email and I'll send you all of our information that way? So then we were collecting it like twofold and uploading all this stuff. And we know now that they're getting our information and we're getting a verbal subscription to whatever it is we're doing on the marketing side. So that said, go back to the, what the question was on, was it's cold calling and personal visits that have really just helped us shoot out the gate quick.
Awesome. And Ryan, we'll get to you in a second. I have a follow-up. What would you say to home inspectors that have an apprehension to cold calling? Because naturally, most people don't like cold calling, but if you have that value proposition, I imagine you have that confidence that you're providing a product that they would want or a service that they would want. What were some of your hurdles getting over picking up that phone? Because the phone could get awfully heavy when making a lot of dials.
Yeah, no. So I was lucky enough. Before I went in the Army, I did cold calling. So I would call people and try to sell them web domain names for register.com, which very difficult pitch to people. And they're like, why the hell do I want a domain name from you? So 100 to 150 dials a day trying to sell them kevinwagstaff.com, and they're like, I don't want that. Now they would. But it's the best thing for cold calling. People are like, well, everyone tries to plan the perfect script or set up the perfect time to do it. Just call. Just call anybody. That's what we call out of state. Pick some like numbers out of state to practice a pitch on that you may not even work with. It's just, you have to get used to just talking to everybody. What I tell my sales reps that do calls for us, or what I do, is I start off in the morning, not necessarily even getting on the phone, but you go to a convenience store to pick something up, or you go to get lunch, just engage with someone immediately. Get into that repetition of constantly just engaging people, talking to them, and then it transfers over to the phone. And also, you already know as a home inspector, the realtor is a natural partner in this. So it's not like it's going to be oh, why would I ever want to talk to you? You are bringing them a service, and if you are truly, creating a great client experience for their mutual client, they're going to want to hear from you, because that's something not a lot of home inspectors do. They don't understand, that it's more than just a report. So when you're calling them, you have to just have that in your mind that, hey, look, they should be thankful that you're calling them. Like I boost my ego before the call. I'm like, look, these people want to have me call. Like, I know they do. They want to hear from me. So I'm going to let them hear from me. I love it. Yeah. So that's really the building of the ego, I guess, before you get on the phone, and just know, hey, you're going to get rejected constantly, but it's a numbers game in the cold calling arena. Like, it's not a big deal. It's not even personal. And I've had some where I've called realtors, and it's been 18 times before I finally get to really talk to them. And they've like shot me down, they're like, hey, I can't talk right now. I can't do this. Right. And then I'll just flat out ask them. It's like, hey, look, do you not like me? Do you not like our business? Like, what's going on? Right. And they're like, well, no, it's not. Like, come in, let's meet, let's talk, so it's a very, it's dealing with humans, it's not a big deal. They shouldn't be worried about it. You're doing it to build your business. You're doing it to build your brand. You're doing it to support your family, your employees. So let's just get out there and get on the phone. Just do it.
I love it. Great perspective. And I think not taking it personally, building yourself up, telling yourself those value propositions, all things that I think every inspector could do more of before they make these calls. Because when you have that confidence coming in, it shows, and your numbers just show that it works. So anyone that wants to dispute that it's a tough thing to do, you would say otherwise. So,
yeah.
Ryan, we'll jump over to you. I know you do some things similar, some things different, but just with your early experience, what are things you attribute some of your early successes to?
Well, I think Drew's approach is a really important one. So I wouldn't want to undermine that in any way, but my specialty, or what I kind of gravitate toward, is going deep. So once you've kind of got those agents on the line and you've started to develop those relationships, I've kind of used some different tactics, and I think that they could be used in conjunction with kind of what Drew was talking about. The biggest one is that I attend broker previews, which are kind of and they call them different things in different parts of the country, but essentially it's the open house for the industry, at least in our neck of the woods. And we do have the benefit of living in a pretty picturesque place with multi-million-dollar properties, even at the low end. So we usually have some like really interesting homes to see. So you get to see what's on the market, provides you some insight into what's happening in the industry, like what's going on. You get to hear from different people that are movers and shakers in the industry, and more importantly, you get to like see them face to face, and they're going to be there. So it's kind of like an office visit, but they're going to be there. So I do something a little bit different than take around pens and candy bowls and all that, which are not bad ideas at all, but I just try to differentiate myself a little bit. And because I have a background in photography and we happen to live in this awesome place, I take pictures and promote their broker previews on my Instagram feed, both my personal one, and then we have a business one too. And I tag them, and does it help sell houses for them? Probably not. Do they feel like I'm loving on them? Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? It's kind of gets down to, are you going to make them feel like a partner and make them feel like you are on their team or not? And I think it's really important to do that, because those are the people that remember and they think of you because you've connected with them personally. So it's very important not just to have a topical relate. Don't make it all business. Like, they can know things about your personal life and stuff, and I share as much as I can on Facebook, not to get too personal, but let them know you got kids, you got a family, you got a wife, whatever you do, whatever you're into, connect with them in that way, because that's where you're going to get them always remembering you, right? So you want to touch them as many times as possible, but you also want them to remember who you are. And in many ways like that, I think it kind of ties in with what Drew was saying. Like, they're just humans. I mean, how do you develop friends? How do you get to know people? You tell them what you're about. Like, what do you like, maybe outside of home inspection, or what have you, or even real estate in general. So I wouldn't be afraid to do that, because it will make you look different at the very least, and different is memorable. Other than that, I mean, I think the hardest part, especially being new, is to break into an industry that there are a lot of older folks that are more established. Even if you're not 20 something, you're still going to be up against people that have been around the block a few times and have a lot of recognition. So I would also make friends with those people. That's a strategy that I've used just because I wanted to learn, and that's actually helped me. I've gotten referrals from inspectors that are like, "Hey, I'm too busy to handle this. Do you want this, $1,000 job?" All right, yeah, like, I'll take it.
Perfect.
And so there's benefit in there too. So you guys can learn from each other. It's also another way that if you have like a big job that gets placed in your lap, you could have people that you can be like, "Hey, do you want to split this up?" And you look bigger, and like you have more resources to the agents, that they know you can get it done, and not just say, "Oh, I only do small things." Think a little bigger. Think about how you can handle bigger jobs and more profitable jobs. So
I love it. And I love that you touched on the emotional human aspect. Both of you did, because honestly, many inspectors come from backgrounds where they swing a hammer or they're doing plumbing, electrical, and there's not a lot of client interaction. And I do believe that's the new model. The new model is human, social, direct outreach. And clearly your guys' numbers and your early success show that that's where things are headed, and you're doubling down on that. I think it's only going to prove very profitable. What are some things you each wish you did more and less of in your first 2 years in the business? Drew, we'll start with you on this one.
yeah.
So I'd say less of. I would have not have outsourced so much marketing, like let's say for Facebook or Yelp even or anything like that. I just would have kept that into just doing the cold calling and personal visits. I probably wouldn't have done as much did some press advertising or paying to be a part of certain home buyer conferences, and just sort of trying to figure out what works or what the ROI on a lot of that is. And I think definitely more just sticking with our pay-per-click campaign instead of shuffling around to different platforms, and then just being honestly on the phone. Like I should have been doing 100 to 150 dials a day instead of doing 20 to 30, and then should have done. I started out visiting, I want to say 5 to 10 brokerages, and then just recently upped it to doing 100 brokerages a week. So it's like, it just comes down to the sheer volume of you being out there. And I wish I would have, I wish I wouldn't have. A lot of times, like we talked about before we jumped on, Kevin, where a guy's like, well, what is it? Like, what's the magic bullet? It's like they're looking for a dollar amount that they can put into some sort of platform. They're like, hey, if I put $1,000 in, I'm going to get 10,000 back. If I put 5,000, I'm going to get 25, whatever it is. It's like, I just wish I would have in early stages not have been looking to put money into different vehicles and just focused really on my three main ones, which my direct to consumer, which is the pay per click that I think we've played around with a couple times, and then also just the cold calling and personal visits. I wish I would have stuck to that. It's like Ryan said, a lot of it comes from, like, with us getting referrals, is that we've built these relationships with these realtors, and so we're just going and we'll grab a beer at the end of the day, or we'll end up doing stop by their office, having a 20-30 minute chat, and then other realtors see that and they want to be like, hey, well, what's that all about? And they're like, oh, it's a great relationship. They do great inspections. It's just they enjoy working with it. So I just wish I would have focused on those three things: the pay-per-click, cold calling, and the personal visits entirely. I wish I just would have done that entirely from the start.
Definitely. And it's worth pointing out to everybody that Drew and AmPro, they tested multiple areas and multiple mediums, which most inspectors are scared to do, or they don't have the budget. Keep in mind, I come from a marketing SEO background that really places a high value on testing something for the ROI. Everyone wants a guaranteed return or a guaranteed results promise. That's never going to happen. But keep in mind that Drew got to where he is and he saw success because he tried different things and paid attention to the results. And so the fact that you've arrived at these conclusions and seen what's worked after a year is amazing, because some inspectors go 20 years and never find out those things. So that's just worth pointing out. But good stuff. Brian, what would you do more of? What would you do less of?
I would definitely start with doing less platform-specific advertising before you kind of understood it. Just like you were saying, test it out, do a little bit here and there. I've spent many thousands of dollars doing the wrong thing. So it's also important that once you have a decent sample size, that you don't get too emotionally hooked up to a particular platform, whatever it is, Home Advisor, Yelp. So definitely don't get married to those. And as Drew was saying, like, you may not have the budget to even spend money on that advertising, but your energy is free. So go with things that you have an endless resource of, which is, time and energy. Time is not endless, but it's certainly sitting right in front of you. It doesn't cost anything to spend it. Just make sure you spend it with the right people and the people that can actually get you referrals. Complaining about things in internet forums and getting in fights with people is not going to make you any money. So while it's kind of fun to do, I'll admit that I do it every once in a while. I'd stay away from that type of online stuff and stay around some positive people that are making dough and doing bigger things than you are. The other component to that I started doing my third year, third year, like toward the end of my second year, was reading more. And so for me, it's really just listening to Audible books because I drive a ton. This is California. We don't have public transit really, so we pretty much drive everywhere. and that's when I'm able to get a lot of knowledge, and some of that knowledge is very, it's buried. So you can listen to, like, there's some great books out there, but you can listen to some of these books and it may not click with you right away, but over time, a lot of the ideas that are presented there, they start to make sense. And what I found is that I start to see common themes in different books where it's like, hey, all right, well, if this guy's saying it and this guy's saying it and this girl's saying it or whatever, maybe they're onto something. Maybe I should focus on things like get up every morning, write down your goals. Like, what are you actually going to accomplish for the day? Because when you're on your own, especially if you're used to like having a job where it's like, hey, I'm going to go put up some drywall, or I'm going to go install a sink, and like that's my job. If you don't have that when you're first starting up and you don't have like jobs to do, it can get really easy to like go off and do nothing. So I would definitely focus on things like that where you set goals for yourself and then admit when you don't hit them and figure out a way to get around it. So definitely do more reading. The other component to this, and it's kind of dumb because I feel like I should have known this given my background, but I didn't focus very much on the web component of my business early on, and I really should have, because you can do a lot of things to advertise on Google and what have you, and to drive traffic that way. But one of the biggest ways that you can improve your SEO and just your standing online is to have history. So I would have specific landing pages set up early on for the different ancillary services that you provide. I try to do videos. I would definitely go through and thoughtfully lay out your website, which is really not hard, especially with WordPress or any of the modern platforms. And just do that right away so that you get that history that builds, because you can't really substitute time in a lot of ways for SEO. I mean, there are some tricks, but ultimately Google really likes to see the time in which you've had the landing pages, the websites, the what have you.
Great stuff. And I love that you mentioned the history. A lot of people think they should wait on those things. Definitely not a good idea to wait to get that online presence and history started with Google. And you mentioned books.
The same thing is true for like on the socials. I waited because I'm like, oh, well, if I start a Facebook, then I'm gonna have to post to it. Well, get your ass up and post to it. It's not that hard. It's free. You just beat it up. Just put stuff out there, and you're not gonna get likes. Like, who cares? Just keep on putting stuff out, and eventually you'll kind of find your voice and be your own thing. I mean, you don't have to. It doesn't have to be perfect. You're not like writing news articles. I mean, just put stuff out there that seems interesting to you. You might find some like safety stuff that would be important for realtors to know for their clients. You'd be surprised the number of things that realtors don't know, even though they've heard it 1,000 times. So you can kind of help educate them too, and not in a condescending way, but just say, hey man, like, here's this thing that just came out. Like, you probably know about this, but you really should be paying attention to it. And that way you position yourself as an expert and not just a know-all that's always pointing out everything that's wrong, which is kind of the reputation that we have, unfortunately.
You hit on so many great points there. I hear an apprehension all the time from new inspectors, like, well, does anyone really care about this or that? You have to get over that insecurity of no one wants to hear what I have to say, because believe me, people do. People search for this stuff all the time. Realtors, I come from a realtor background as well. Realtors don't know realtors don't know these things that you guys are posting about. So you got to get over that. And you're right, it is a volume game with content. I think it's just getting it out there. And I'll post the book, and I'll get some book recommendations from Ryan. I'll link to them in the description. I'll get some specifics. I won't put him on the spot and ask him right now, but I'll link to those for the bigger conceptual stuff, because I am a big believer in sticky note planning, mapping out your day and week, because I talk to inspectors every day that I can tell spin their wheels and spend days tinkering around on things that don't increase the bottom line and don't get you referrals. And that's why I love having you two on the show, because you guys really focus in on these things that equal productivity. This is kind of related. You guys kind of went into this already, but Ryan, what would you say a few common things new inspectors waste time on or think about or worry about that they shouldn't? I know you referenced the forums and kind of twiddling your thumbs some days without getting stuff done.
Yeah, definitely stay off the forums unless you're asking specific questions. I also wouldn't waste time at the broker previews or at any of the affiliate meetings that you may go to with the real estate association. Don't go hang out with home inspectors that are there or other affiliates. Go find a real estate agent. I mean, they may not even be a top producer or anything, but just go make a friend with a real estate. You should always be making new friends. And it kind of sucks. Like, it's hard to do because I frankly don't like it. I mean, sometimes they seem like I'm extroverted, but I'm really not. I don't love doing that, but you gotta feed your family. So you just kind of gotta say that to yourself and then just do it, because the quicker you do it, the less time you have to think about it. And that's kind of another plague that most home inspectors are very technical, so they want to tinker and like make it all perfect. And let me just admit something to you: like, nothing I do is perfect. My life's not perfect. My inspections aren't perfect. My process isn't perfect. But you know what? It's making money. And the most important thing you got to do is get customers and make money so that you can continue to improve that. Because the longer you spend sitting there trying to like tinker and make it perfect, you're not making money. And the longer you do that, you're going to go out of business.
Right.
And then where are you? You're nowhere. And then you're like, oh, forget this home inspection. It's not that hard, guys. I mean, many people have figured this out, and we're not even that smart, to be honest. So I definitely stay away from that stuff. But some things to do, I mean, we don't always have to focus on the negative, but some things to do would be learn more than the standards of practice. Do not hide behind the standards of practice nonsense. It's good to have standards. I mean, hey, I use it in defense of, when people think that I should have checked how well their lawn grows. Yeah, I use it in that sense, but don't be afraid to go above and beyond, because essentially the standards of practice and minimum code, it's like saying, if I could build this house worse, but it would be illegal and I'd go to jail. So go above and beyond. And I kind of use the idea of like going after things that interest me. So like indoor air quality interests me because I just got exposure to it when I was a kid, because my dad, his business dealt with very high quality very high end air quality control methods for microprocessor manufacturing. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of had this natural thing where I was like, hey man, this is kind of cool. And so I dove down like the mold rabbit hole and VOCs and indoor air quality, and that's interesting to me. And so I read about it and learned about it. And I don't have to do a test on every house, and I don't, but I can talk authoritatively when there's a question about, hey, there was a water loss, and I know the procedure that has to happen to get that cleared and to educate the real estate agents and the clients. So that's where you provide more value. You don't charge them any more money, but it doesn't cost you anything either, because at the end of the day, those are the people that come back to you and are like, hey, we need a mold test in this one job. You might not have done the inspection, but we get a mold test out of it. There's $300 worth of profit, which is great for us and makes us move forward. I've got a couple other notes here just to remind myself, because I forget everything. Go to conferences. Find the people that are super successful, that are doing really, really well. Even if you don't want to be multi-inspector, that's fine. You don't have to be. But go find those people and just talk to them. Just become their friend, because every single multi-inspector owner that I've ever met, this is without exception, is a nice human being, open to talk to you, and will pretty much share all of their secrets with you. And that goes on up to Chad Hett, Preston Sandlin, and like the big dogs, and some of which are my direct competitors. So don't be afraid to do that, because you can learn things in 15 minutes that would take you 3 or 4 months to learn just trying out on your own. Particularly if these guys are in your neck of the woods too. If they're in your neighborhood, make friends with them. They will help you.
And shameless plug on the conference front, we'll be actually speaking, Spectora will, at the InterNACHI conference on April 28th. So for those of you looking for a conference to go to, that's coming up here in a couple months. But I digress.
Yeah, no, I would go to that one.
It's a long trip for you up from the West Coast to go to Atlantic City, but
yeah, Atlantic City. I mean, we have Vegas, and it's it's what 2.5 hours in a car at 120 miles an hour.
right.
So yeah, do that. The other things just stay away from like negative internet forums. I'm not going to name any names, but just any of the negative ones, just stay away from them. They're just toxic to you and the health of your business. Believe me. Understand risk management. So, in case you didn't realize, like home inspection is the risk management business, and if you don't understand that, you got to take a step back and think about it for a little bit. And I'm happy to talk to anybody about that and explain to them why it is that way. And it will change your approach to not just CYA, but it'll change your approach to how you talk to clients. And I think it will positively impact your business, because there are also some third-party things that you can do for yourself that might cost you a little bit of money, but they enhance the risk management business that you're really in. And then the last thing is, if you don't know how to fly a drone, I would get your certifications, learn how to do it, because you're going to save yourself a lot of trouble and time. And for some reason, that's one of my number one comments when people refer me. They're like, "Oh, this so-and-so agent referred me to. They said you had a drone." And I'm like, this isn't even a big deal. And it's actually better to walk a roof. But, if it's 3 stories up and it's a tile concrete roof or whatever, I would rather send a drone up there and just see if there's any reason to actually get up there. I mean, I don't need to inspect it if I don't have to, or if I can get other eyes on it. I'm all about it.
And then you're the cool, futuristic, tech-savvy home inspector. So that's not a bad thing.
And it costs you $1,000. Big deal.
Right.
So.
Yep. No, you West Coast guys are so progressive. Great stuff. I'm glad you mentioned the standards of practice and going above and beyond. I do feel like a lot of inspectors look at that and think that's all I need to do. We'll get into the over worrying about liability and all that here in a few, but good stuff that you mentioned there. Drew, having gone through your first year, I know you mix it up a lot online in different areas, and you've spoken to so many people. What do you think new inspectors do that they shouldn't, or what do they worry about that they shouldn't, in all aspects, business, software, anything?
Yeah, I think Ryan hit definitely right on the head with staying away from a lot of these forums unless you just absolutely have a question. Like I said, I'll go on there every once in a while. A lot of it's entertaining. It is a waste of time. I time block, like you said. I have journals that I time block everything in for 15 minutes for every day that I put aside. And you could get on the home inspector. I get on the home inspector forum wormhole, and then next thing you know, you're like 38 minutes have passed. It throws off block, and then maybe it's an hour, or who knows, or maybe you're not sleeping. What are these people talking about? But like, I would stay away from the old school forums, as much as it might be negative to say that. I would also, as far as software trends and everything, like I said, I was originally, I got sucked into the good old boy, I guess, network, because I called like, hey, use your home gauge, use this or use that. And there's so many better options out there. Obviously, I run my entire business off Spectora. It saves us money down the road because we're not paying, we're scheduling, we're not paying for scheduling. We have no middleman involved. It just goes directly to that one platform. And then once you get to that platform, or whatever platform you choose, make it the best you can, push it to its limits. Don't just jump around from platform to platform. We messed around with a few of them, and it was like, every time it was sort of like a little setback on it. Find successful people to talk to, whether it's in the home inspection industry or whether it's in any industry. That's the other thing, is like, so here we are in an industry where we're working with $1 million producers on the real estate side. I mean, maybe some of these people we talk to are, they're taking home 3 to 4 million a year. They obviously know how to run a successful business, and there's nothing wrong with as a home inspector to sit down with these top agents that you're working with. Like, hey, look, how do you run your business? How you've seen so many home inspectors, you're a part of all these transactions. When you present a report to your client, you and your client are sitting around, looking over a report. how do you present it? Like, what are they asking when they see these certain blurbs about a roof or a crack in the foundation? Like, just really analyzing it, instead of like what Ryan said, where you have the standards of practice and they'll tell you, hey, just go ahead. You see a problem, be like, get a qualified professional or other, get a qualified professional or other, get a qualified professional or other. And it's like, there's a little shred on the carpet. It's like, hey, I may not be laying carpet down for my day job, but I can look at that and be like, that's jacked up, get it repaired. Or, hey, look, the home was built in 1648 with wood floors, or, and they're worn, but hey, look, it's consistent with the age of the home, right? So if there's scratches on it, just not think outside the box. I just cannot, it just blows my mind when I look at some, when you see these forums and you see the same guys just giving these cut and paste answers, and then these new inspectors read it and they're like, well, all I have to do essentially is defer liability. So it's like Ryan said, again, we're here as risk mitigators. So if all we do is go in and then push it off to someone else immediately and give very vague, ambiguous answers to everything, it does no service for the client. The client's more confused. The realtor's like, I don't know what the hell, there's 148 items in this, novel of a report that was handed to me. And it's all just like maybe little superficial details. And then also going above and beyond. Like, hey, how hard is it to check the ice maker or water, the water on a fridge, make sure the water line's hooked up. Doesn't take long at all. Turn on all the burners, start the oven for a little bit and just check to make sure that it preheats right. Just doing those little things, offering those other services that are out there. I know the new inspectors are going to hear a lot when they go on, but that's why you should stay away from the forums. Like, stay away from the evil vendors. Don't ever talk to them. Don't associate with them. Just have a notebook and a pen and you're good. You don't need to give your money to anybody. It's like, well, your business is going to fail within a month. I can almost guarantee it, because you have no differentiating factor whatsoever. Vendors, just like anything else, are a tool. So these new vendors, these new inspectors need to realize that, hey, look, you use a certain software platform, you use a warranty program, you use the buyback program. These are just tools, and you have to market them properly, and you have to put them into a system that you created in your business for them to even work. On its face, they don't do anything for you, essentially, right? You have to know how to utilize them and then plug them into your business. So I think that as a new inspector, they need to go and just try all these things on their own, whether it is the warranty package, whether it is a buyback, whether it is, a software, which, hey, I push everyone. I've talked, I think 4 people have should be switching over to Spectora here soon, because I've just seeing my reports, like, I cannot, this is ridiculous. But it's the thing where, just understanding what it is that you need in your business, and understanding that the standards of practice is your starting point, and then adding ancillary services is how you really make your money. And that's another one. So I would really, these new inspectors need to really look at the pricing and the unit economics of what they're doing. You hear guys are like, I don't know how they make a living. Well, hey, check it out. If I can charge someone $220, let's say, for an inspection, it only costs me $2 to provide, then you're going to be okay, right? I was like, so understanding, hey, if I offer these ancillary or these other packages built into my inspections, whether it's warranted, or I have a call center answering, or I have doing the recall check, the buyback, or whatever it is, and plugging that in and understanding what your profit margins are. And that's part of, these new inspectors need to realize that they're not coming in to create a job. The second that you incorporate, you get all this insurance, you're now a business, and you need to run it as a business, not as hey, I do my 5. It doesn't matter. Hey, if you're collecting money and it's going in your business account, you are running a business. You're running a business that's creating revenue, and it needs to be ran just like that. Too many of these guys just don't, they go off on tangents about pricing and undercutting or charging too much. It's like, hey, as long as you know your numbers as a new inspector, who cares? It's all what's falling down to the bottom line. It's all what you're getting in free cash flow. It's like, that's what matters. So back to, again, what Ryan said, the biggest one for me is just stay away from the forums. The guys that are on there the most are the ones that are doing probably the least amount of business, unless some of the top producing guys, like he talked about. I know Preston posts a lot. The Dave Klima's out there posts a lot, but they're just there to help, because they're great guys that want to help people in the community, and they give gold nuggets out there on the reg. Every 10 minutes or so, I see something they post. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to look how I can move this to our business. And I think everyone, these inspectors need to just reach out to guys. I would refrain from just asking blanket questions on forums. Just target guys that are doing doing well, and they're going to take the time to talk to you.
You hit on so many good points. And Preston and Dave's of the world, they have 20 people to run their company, so they have the time to post, and that's worth noting. Whereas maybe a single man that's online all day, he's probably not doing inspections. Drew, I didn't even tell you this before, but I spoke to a home inspector in your area, said he reached out to you, said you guys had a great conversation, and that falls in line with networking with good, successful inspectors. And for what it's worth, he said you were great, you were helpful. I think it's this new model of human relationships. You guys are networking with successful, busy, active people, and it just breeds more success. So I'd say don't be afraid to reach out to people. Don't be afraid to network with the competition. It can only help you.
And I'll steal a Cardonism that I really liked, that, success is not a commodity. And that's what I told the guys. Like, why are you willing to share this with me? It's like, look, I'm not worried about you taking all of the success. I can create as much as I want. And that's what I tell people. I'm like, look, if I need to, hey, if I only have 550 homes for sale in Colorado Springs, I can sit here and complain like, oh my gosh, how am I going to get the market share? Or I have the market share. How am I going to get the volume now? It's like, well, guess what? I got to go to Denver. And that's the same for anything. If you're in a garbage market and it's just not, if you're really serious about your business, like, you have to realize that success, it's however much you want, which is why I'm also free. I think it was Mark that I talked to before about, he might be calling me too, but it was the same thing. He's an inspector in my area. He's like, oh, we're in competition. I was like, look, first of all, that is where I get a little bit of an ego. I don't feel like I'm in competition with anybody. I just do my thing and stick to numbers and stick to pushing in the systems. And then everything comes from that by just doing it. And I also know that 9 times out of 10, you tell people, if I tell them like, hey, go ahead and make 100 cold calls a day, they're not going to do it.
Right.
They're not going to do it.
Right.
So, but yeah, no, they just got to ask, that goes back to attaching to those people and just understanding that there's no, it's not like all of a sudden there's 50 successful home inspectors in your area and then no one else can be successful. Hey, Colorado Springs only has enough for 10 successful inspectors. Just give up. Don't even try. I wish I could use that as a marketing tool to get people to stop coming into my market, but it just doesn't work that way.
Right. Well, cool. I want to switch gears here. I know each of you have different things within your businesses that you're excited about. Tell us what's in the pipeline with your businesses specifically. What excites you about 2018? And Ryan, we'll start with you.
All right. So I've got a few things that I'm pretty excited about for 2018, even though we are a couple months in already, it seems like. But the kind of the biggest thing is putting more of my expertise to use to help the industry. So I kind of felt, at least in my opinion, I do really well when I can help other people. It makes me feel good. I usually make more money as a result, so it kind of benefits everybody. But yeah, so I'm pretty excited just about that. I'm excited about the growth in the industry that we're seeing. There's also some consolidation going on too, and I don't know why that excites me, but it does, because ultimately we're adding a lot more professional features and attributes to this industry that didn't exist before. I kind of think of it as like leaving the clipboard and the flashlight behind. It's not that we don't use a flashlight or a clipboard sometimes, but man, we're way past that, and I'm excited to see the industry grow in a way that puts us in a higher standing, allows us to be more professional and more of a partner in the real estate community. And I see that it's happening pretty consistently, where we're just getting agents that want to have a more engaged relationship with us, and ultimately it benefits the client dramatically when you have people that work together. And at the end of the day, so I'm pretty excited about that. It'll help out a lot, and moreover, it's going to help bring more money into the industry as well, more success, for everybody. So I do think that the consolidation is good. What I do think you're going to see happen is that all of the low-hanging fruit, all the guys that aren't trying, or that, frankly, they'll probably retire in the near future, or they just weren't cut out to be inspectors, I think you'll see them go away, and all of us, everybody that's listening to this, like, we are the true professional inspectors out there, and we're going to raise this industry and this profession. But you always got to remember, we are really young. I mean, like, was like the 80s is when this industry got started. So we're very young, and we have a lot of ability to influence where we're going. We just have to do it. So I'm stoked about that. We are. I'm trying to see. I made a couple other notes here. So drone roof inspections. I kind of see this becoming an interesting technology play. So this is not for everybody. You kind of have to be into the drones and into technology and wanna play around with it. But there are a couple companies. One is called Drone Deploy, and they sell software. And it's basically, they got free software for your iPad or your iPhone. I think they may have Android packages as well, or apps for that. But it basically can upload a flight plan to a drone, and the drone will fly a very specific flight plan over a roof. And of course, this can have commercial and residential applications. So it'll fly it, it'll take a bunch of pictures and some other measurements for GPS and altitude and that. And they use a process called photogrammetry and some other fancy stuff. Sends it to Drone Deploy, and for like 39 or 40 bucks or whatever it is, they will give you plans for that roof. So they'll do exact measurements for all the planes, give you surface area. They can build a model for you. So I could kind of see this as being an interesting play for doing roof inspections, particularly on commercial buildings, as a way to help out roofers. Because again, like, you want to like think outside of, oh, what can I do as a home inspector? Think of, what can I do with my knowledge of buildings with the technology I already own, probably because you already have a drone, and run circles around like roofing companies that are a little, maybe the big ones have got all this stuff, but there are smaller ones out there that you can really help them out a lot, because they wouldn't have to go out to a house or out to a building to get a bid together. And if you could put together some quotes for them, particularly on the commercial side, that would be a really interesting play, I think. And that might be garbage. I don't know. I mean, this stuff is so new that you don't kind of know until you try, but there's a very low barrier to entry in terms of cost. You just kind of have to have an interest in it. I'm also pretty excited about outbound sales. So Drew kind of touched a little bit on this, but we're going to be implementing an outbound sales call center. And the whole idea is that you're reaching out to people instead of waiting for them to call you based on ads you put out. This is one of many strategies that I think is going to work really well in home inspection. The problem is nobody's really tried it, or at least not that I can tell. And if you look at every other industry on the planet, they have an outbound call strategy for how they funnel in leads, how they handle those leads, how they call out immediately. And an example of this is, like, you can sign up for Home Advisor, and everybody like knocks on Home Advisor, and I get it. I mean, like, there have been some garbage leads that I've gotten through Home Advisor, but I've also done like $2,000-$3,000 indoor air quality work from a Home Advisor lead. The problem is that the other companies that are doing this, or that are getting the leads, they have like a staff that's like right there and they call them right away. Well, what if you could have a call center that you pay for incrementally? So like, you're only paying for a fraction of their time, but they reach out immediately once you get a lead from a site like Home Advisor. Or if you want to build your own funnel through like ClickFunnels or something like that, what if you had that? So again, as our industry grows and it gets a little bit more mature and it gets past the 1980s, we're going to do more and more of this stuff that's going to make us incredibly successful. But it's going to take a little bit of bravery, because it's uncharted territory for us by and large. However, you see people like Drew, and I don't have to disclose his numbers without him doing it himself, but his numbers are multiples better than what a good first year for any home inspector. So it's really hard to argue with some pretty initial quick results on year one, with mistakes, with learning the industry and all that. I don't think anybody can in this industry can argue with that. So there's going to be huge opportunities there. So I'm pretty stoked about that. And then just the other thing that is just to do some crazy stuff. So whenever I think of like, okay, how can we like differentiate ourselves? How can we do something that's a little bit different while not being too out there? I just think about people like Preston and Roy, Roy Ware out there in what is he, Iowa? I don't know. It's a cold place. That's all I know. But anyway, Roy does like a ton of cool stuff on Instagram, and he's got like a lime green Ram 2500, and he's just kind of putting himself out there and being fun, and we should be having fun. I mean, that's the whole point of, if work can't be fun, then I think you're in the wrong business, to be honest. So I'm looking forward to having more fun this year.
I love it. And I just want to point out how many times these two have said the word differentiate throughout these conversations. This is for new and experienced inspectors. I talk to experienced inspectors that are cruising along in their market, and I do caution you, you're ripe for being taken over by an inspector that is having fun, that is being creative, that is differentiating. So just something to take note of. And you segue perfectly, Ryan, for Drew. Drew, what's exciting about your business and where you guys are headed this year? He mentioned the outbound call center. We can touch on that as well. Some of the outbound stuff. Oh, and Ryan, I love that you mentioned having someone helping call on these leads, because having worked at Home Advisor, I understand the business. Thumbtack response time is key with these, because they send a lot of these leads to multiple vendors, multiple contractors. So having someone to do that for you is a very interesting concept, something I don't think has really been breached a ton in our industry. But Drew, I'll let you go.
Yeah, no, it is the outbound portion, and like the numbers are in that, and like how fast you contact somebody. I believe it's like, if you reach out to someone within the first 5 minutes after they want to use your services or your product, you're at about a 360-something% more of a chance of closing in that 5-minute window. And we've tested it. I've messed around with like what Ryan was talking about with the Home Advisor. Once I get it, some I'll let go to that 30-minute point, and then I'll call. Hey, it cost me $15-20. But again, it's all to be like, okay, how does this really work? I'm really interested in that stuff. So other ones, I just pick up the phone, immediately call. And I have like a 90-something% success rate on the really fast leads that I get on through Home Advisor. We'll schedule them right there. They're just like, oh my gosh, somebody's calling me. Even when they're like, well, I'm pricing out, I'll get them in to the system at least. As far as the Ryan and I talk a lot as of late, just get on the phone, just spitballing ideas. So there's all sorts of stuff that we have rolling around on this outbound call center. The outbound marketing and sales, and how he sets up the ClickFunnels to where, it could all be integrated. When someone's entering their information, then you have an outbound agent immediately contacting them with their information and the ability to schedule that appointment for you immediately. And that's what it really comes down to. So many people look at it and they're like, oh, they'll spend money on all these other things, and then they won't do it on the stuff that's really going to generate income for them. And these are already leads that you're capturing. That's the sad thing. So you've paid this money and all these other platforms to capture leads. Now the leads are coming in. Now what do you do once the lead comes in? You have to engage them immediately. I mean, I know I've seen it a couple of times where I had a lead come through, right? And I like check my email, and I'm like, oh man, I just missed it. Like that was 8 hours ago. Oh my God, I'd call them, and there's no way in hell unless nobody else called them, which is sometimes happens in this industry too, because everyone's, the client experience is by the wayside. So I'll get lucky in this one. Any other industry, I would just be kicked to the curb, and I would have lost that lead forever. But that it's just so important to get on those leads immediately. So I mean, right now I have guys calling for me. We're lucky, Ryan and I are lucky enough to have this outbound thing at our disposal. So it's a little bit easier for us to see how it's working. But like, I have guys call immediately for me, and be like, well, you have to pay them. I was like, well, sure. But if they contact 6 leads immediately for me, at $504 a pop, they're worth their weight in gold. They just are, those are leads that I may not have gotten on my own. So our franchise documents, disclosure documents will be done in June, and we will be ready to sell franchises 1 January 2019. We have some pretty interesting things in the works on that side, on the veteran side. So we're we're having an affiliation set up too, to where if a guy already has an existing business, you know, we have packages to where it could be a corporate and we affiliate with them, or they affiliate with us, and we have all this marketing and sales stuff at the disposal at that point for them to use. So I'm always working different ways to sort of, on the home inspection side, my partner Brody handles all the technical aspects of the inspecting and everything in the operations. So that's why when people ask me like, what do you think about this inspection? Like, don't ask me, talk to him. I handle this side. I have to break it apart like that. You know, it's tough, you know, it's tough for some guys to go from that single to multiple. And really what it is it was like, well, you guys must be, you know, you're killing it or doing this or that. It's like, look, I've cut my salary basically to just, you know, peanuts so I could bring on the right people and expand and scale the way that I see this going, you know, for the long game. But the exciting things are the Elite Sales Tactics outbound call center that's up and going right now. The franchise documents, which we will be finishing up. We already did our feasibility studies in multiple states. I have all the data, everything out there that I need to go forward with it. That'll be done in June. And then also, like I said, me and Ryan have talked about some other interesting, very, very interesting ideas that I'll just wait before I even say anything. It's just still hip pocket, just us shooting back and forth, trying to figure out if it's feasible. But it's stuff that I see down the road that could make that's very helpful to the industry. I think that it's something that makes it eventually you won't be able to remove the home inspector out of it, because there's certain things that I see in an industry. I think people have to talk about this. I think we're setting ourselves up to be removed from, you know, the real estate process as we know it, you know, so we have to find ways to stay where someone can't just look at it like, hey, there's already this redundancy in here of things that are happening. Why do we have these other guys here? Or we go the way of the appraiser, where we're not able to aggressively market and sell the way we want. And then, you know, we go into the whole, everyone has a shot at it. And then it's just a round robin of who gets pulled up for the contracts and everything. But like I said, Elite Sales Tactics, franchise, and then possibly this other little piece that me and Ryan have talked about offline that, like, you know, as I even told him when we started talking about it, I was like, I can't stop thinking about this. I'm just like,
nice teaser.
I was like, no, this stuff drives me crazy though. It's just like, you see it, and we have, as home inspectors, we have so much leverage and so much information at our disposal. And I know a lot of guys always talk about data pushes and how horrible it is. It's like, well, really the reason why other people are selling the data is because, you know, other inspectors weren't really capitalizing on it, or, you know, really paying attention to what they have, or how valuable that really is. And if they, as a community, like, how do we stop this from happening? Like, it's pretty easy. I was like, you need to figure out a way to leverage that in a good way for everybody, so it's a win-win-win, you know, and you can do it at a small level. And that's sort of what, you know, hopefully in the next couple months we'll have more information on that to push that ball back into their court, which should be very
You guys are great at segueing me into the next topic. But thank you for sharing some of what's going on with you guys. I'll link to anything in the description for anyone that wants more information, whether it's articles on your guys' site that gives them more information on some of the Elite Sales Tactics stuff, some of the ClickFunnels stuff, and just what you see ahead. But as you alluded to, the interesting part of this conversation, talking about what's happening in the industry, the consolidation, the data. You talked about it a little bit, Ryan. Let's start with you. Just what's your take? You talked a little earlier about your view on the consolidation. Let's talk about the consolidation for one, what it means, and two, your view on the client's data and how and when, if it should be used. Kind of just your general take on that. Everyone's got an opinion on it, but I'm curious to hear yours.
Yeah, so I guess you can kind of think about consolidation in two. One is kind of what I was referring to earlier, is consolidation amongst inspection companies. So seeing the single man operators either getting hired by or assimilating kind of into like an elite group model. And then the second consolidation is kind of more amongst the vendors, and I'll leave some names out of it, but I think everybody who's hasn't been living under a rock knows who I'm talking about. And in that instance, I mean, I still think it's a good thing. There are a few things that kind of in the heat of all that emotional upheaval, I think many experienced a few months ago. We'll just call. I wrote down like one post I had when I was thinking, and I said, "There's kind of 3 leadership lessons that we need to from all on. Stop lying. Stop lying is the first one. The second one is own failure, and the third one is reputation evaporates. If you understand those 3 things, you can do a lot in moving yourself forward and being a leader yourself, whether you're a single man operator or not. We're all leading someone. We're all going somewhere. We're all participating in this. And so that just means that we need to stop lying to other people and to ourselves about what we are and what we're capable of. Own and realize the fact that we are going to fail at stuff, and that companies will fail and associations will fail, and there will be major problems, but that's okay as long as we recognize it and then learn from everything and move on. Is that, the most valuable thing that any of us have is the reputation, because you're even talking to me right now just because I have a good reputation. I'm probably not going to make this an awful interview, hopefully. And the same can be true for all the referrals that you get, and that disappears incredibly fast. So just some pretty difficult lessons, I think, for some in the industry to learn, but don't let them be an expensive price that you can't also glean from, because there are lessons there for all of us. And then another thought that I have is, like, no matter what happens, like, consolidation is kind of a fancy word, but it can really suck in a lot of ways. It can create a lot of emotional upheaval and just some bad thoughts and energy. But it's really important not to let the emotions get in the way of sound business decisions, and because oftentimes, I think about it like Facebook, right? I mean, back in the day, Facebook was brand new and like basically only colleges could have it. I mean, we were one of the first colleges that could have it. And I remember when they implemented, it was like, wait a minute. And there was this upheaval, like groups were started and everybody was like emotionally distressed that like there was going to be this feed of information that basically listed everything that was going on in your life. And like, little did we know that like Twitter was right around the horizon, and like that's literally what Twitter is now, and that's literally what Facebook is now, and they've built an enormous amount of wealth and an enormous company around that idea. So, and my point is that eventually the users that were so upset about that came around, and like they were okay with it, because whether you agree with it or not, it was the right business decision, because there's no way that we could have the insight that we have and the depth of data that we have on individuals, whether you agree with it or not. There's no way we could have had that if we didn't have the newsfeed and we didn't have more interaction. And so that's a prime example, although exaggerated and slightly different than our industry. It's a prime example of an emotional response to a very good business decision. So don't let like this micro, don't let the micro decisions like influence your macro perspective on how business is changing, because ultimately, like, business doesn't care, the world doesn't care, the economy doesn't care. Like, you need to participate in it. So anyway, that might be a little too high level for some in terms of just like thinking too much about it, but I do think a lot about business and those things, and that's kind of what I think about it. There's let's see, there's one other. I did want to echo what Drew was saying about hey, if I had like, I missed this email from 8 hours ago, and if I had a guy that was sitting there like ready to call, then it would have been a booked job. Like, I have, the chances are 3.5 times better that it would be a booked call in 8 hours, for example, or 10 minutes. this concept, what he's getting at, the root of that is multiplying your time. And the only way you can multiply time is to get more people on your team. And that can be referral partners. That can be Spectora, because honestly, they do multiply my time because they automate things for me. Or that can be people that you hire. You can get your spouse to help out. Like, we're not talking about necessarily putting money into it, although that is one way to do it. But don't be afraid to put in like $1,000 a month into a system when you can calculate it. It's four more jobs is, then I think you owe it to yourself to give that a shot for a month or two. Don't look at like a big number like that and think that it's a lot of money, because honestly, it's not. And many kind of money in way, or that kind of measured way does pay off. There's just, I'll direct me about that because the proof's in that pudding. So yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on that. The last kind of thing that I'd say is that I'd say like this. I have this idea, like the sum of every. Let's see. We have a professional problem that can only be overcome with improving our image, which is the sum of every business decision we make, from uniforms we wear to the tone of our communication. So, as we're moving forward, and like as I beating this drum of like being more professional, changing the industry, raising it up, making us more respected, you kind of have to do your part too. So that means like having a professional way that your phones are answered, whether you do it or some means having nice pressed uniforms. That means saying the same thing at every inspection, having the same tone, communicating in a way that means something to the person hearing it, not just CYA, recommend a qualified carpet person look at the strand of carpet that's out of place. Like that's not the tone that we need, because that's petty. You know what I mean? So evaluate that in your business. You got to make some of these decisions for yourself, but it's very important, consistent, that you even write it down. Like, here's the tone, even if it's not an exact script. Like, here's the tone, helpful, focusing on big picture items, risk management, so forth, and write that down so that you've got some sort of formal way to describe it. Because if you don't, you're just going to get all over the map. And I'm a victim of that too. Like, I'll go all over the map if I don't have things in stone and written down and that I've actually thought them through.
I love it. Everybody do your part. Professionalism only elevates the industry, allows everybody to do better. Great stuff. Drew, on the data side, you alluded to this earlier. There's one piece of it where we're talking home data and insurance use purposes, and then there is the data in your inspection reports. Do you have customers saying, hey, who do I contact for this defect that you've pointed out? And do you feel that's your responsibility to lead them to that? Is it the vendors? Is it the clients, the realtors? Where do you sit on that conversation?
So in regards to that, is I want my clients, I want realtors, I want everybody to be returning to me as much as possible. So having a robust network that I can refer them to by looking through the report and make, hey, here, use this roofer, use this handyman, use this guy, then they're coming to me as a resource. Once you've established yourself as a resource, then you can start capturing dominant market shares. The way I think we talked about it a bit when we were at the Rapids game.
Yep.
Touched on a few things, and it was like, how do you really position yourself and differentiate? And once you become a resource that people keep returning to, based on, hey, I have this inspection report, I can get you in touch with all the guys, or guys or girls out there doing the work that you need, and like, that's awesome. Like that's client experience. Whereas the other inspectors in my market are just like, hey, just go deal with it. They can fall back on the whole the financial industry thing of I can recommend 3 people, which, as we all know, if you dive in a little bit, it's complete BS. And but I just say, I will give you the best person that I recommend every single time, and I have no financial attachment to them. That's how I bridge it. Like, look, I get no kickbacks. I don't care. These are just people that I associate my brand with by referring them out, right? And that they love it.
I love it. And Drew, I have to jump in here because I hear this theme so often. And I think what you just said is so important about disclosing that, hey, I don't get kickback. I'm just trying to provide you value. I think it's the new model. And so many inspectors are caught in this mindset of, oh, liability, I'm going to get sued. They're going to do this and that and the other. I think treating people well and trying to help them overcome so much of that. And I really think the instances of suits are very low. So I think it's an overblown.
But you're 100% correct. I mean, we've had. Go ahead.
On some, it might not be that. They'll find like, oh, that's like the lowest possible that they would sue. They'll find somebody else anyway. So don't think that that's some protection.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's I've never understood this. And you talk to a lot of inspectors, you talk to people in the industry, they seem to plan their entire business around a something like a lawsuit that's happening and maybe at like a 0.001% clip inside the industry. So it's like, well, here, I'm going to change my entire business model just so I don't get sued potentially by some client who would sue me anyways, even if I didn't inspect their house. It's just the way it is. I mean, we've had a few guys threaten us, right, with a lawsuit, and it's like, hey, yeah, that's fine. Like, go ahead. And then they've come to find out that, they were in the wrong. Or you have other ones where there's issues. The person moves into the house, right? They started having little issues here and there, and they call. Some inspectors are like, hey, it doesn't matter. I didn't see it. They go immediately on the defensive. Whereas with these difficult clients, I just tell them, like, yeah, here's my network. We email out our preferred vendor list after every inspection. And I'm like, here's all this resource. Feel free to reach out to me if you're having a hard time getting a hold of them. I'll call them. They usually answer me quick because, we talk to each other all the time, and I'll get you taken care of. And like you were saying, Kevin, just because that we take the time and we show an interest in them, that we actually care, they don't want to sue somebody who is out there trying to actively help them. Now, if you're just, hey, whatever, it wasn't in the report, you deal with it and then hang up on them, or you just don't answer their call, they're going to start getting angry. First, I want to know. So here's a great one, though. It's like, if somebody calls me with an issue, most people look at it as like, this is a horrible thing. This is your time to, one, sell them again, and two, really stand out, because it's how you deal with the upset clients that really differentiate yourself from everybody else out there. And I just hit them head on. I'll be engaging them constantly. And like we participate in the RWS warranty. I ended up just selling somebody an 18-month warranty because I was like, hey, look, check it out. It's mechanical, microwave will break. Maybe it's your dishwasher or water heater, but now you see the value in having this extended warranty program. So let's go ahead and get you an 18-month premium warranty. So now you don't have to worry about it. Okay, great. So now we made money off somebody who was very upset with us, that was like, I can't believe this and that. And then once you walk them through the process of what's going on and how it could not have possibly been caught in the inspection, but we have certain things and protections available to them, then they're happy. I mean, it went from someone's like, hey, I'm going to tarnish your name on every platform and known to man, to leaving a 5-star review and buying from us.
extra effort. Most people don't put in the extra effort that you guys are outlining, but that's got to be the one huge takeaway: is give a shit and put in some extra effort.
Yeah, it's so interesting, and one of the guys that helps me with our franchise, his name is Paul Segreto. He's done L&L Hawaiian Barbecue. He's done those franchises. He's done quite a few larger commercial carpet cleaning, some other restaurants. But he said this, we're sitting there talking. He's my consultant. So, hey, here's some great information for these guys out here from a guy who sold thousands and thousands of franchises. He's like, look, you go into an Apple store, people are excited. Like, I'm going to the Apple store. It's incredible. And it's about client experience. Now, when's the last time someone went to the Best Buy in the PC section? It's like,
Great example.
An incredible experience. It's because the fact is that Apple can honestly charge more too for their product, because the client experience is incredible. It's just the same thing with Disney World. People spend their whole lives just for the client experience. So that goes to show, by creating an incredible client experience, you will, just doing that, just having that, answering your phone at midnight when someone calls for something, taking a call early in the morning. Or I had one yesterday where a client was like, hey, I don't know why my range is off, right? It's not working. Like, it's probably a breaker. Hey, don't worry about it. I'm around the area. Let me stop by. I'll take a look. And I flip the breaker for them, right? And they're just like, you drove all the way out here to do this? And I'm like, of course. You're a client of mine. I mean, whatever you need, you just call me and we'll take care of it, right?
Amazing.
And the realtor at that point's like, I can't believe you would do something like that. It's like, why wouldn't I do that? The person just spent $600 for 2.5 hours of our inspector's time. Why wouldn't I do that? Because now they're going to you assume that everybody knows 10 people, and they're going to tell those 10 people, and those 10 people will tell those people. So it's like, by doing those little things, the smallest things that, like, people are like, oh, that's so stupid. Yeah, that client's an idiot. It's like, that is your time to build your business by leaps and bounds. Like, that's where you go from, hey, here I have, like Ryan said, the flashlight and clipboard and pencil walking around, to them being like, at this point, they don't even care about the report. They're just like, I don't know. I would willingly give this guy more money, or this company more money, because it was just an incredible experience from top to bottom. And you can believe that, hey, when I call them in 2 years, like, hey, you need to do a radon recertification test, they're like, oh, of course. Yeah, of course we will. So it's like,
and you've got a realtor for life. You've got a 5-star review. You've got more referrals. I'm going to link to this in the description, this point in the interview, because these are the kinds of things that aren't available that we need to talk about, that more people need to know about. Because most people, like you said, 99%, they're not going to do that. They're just going to say client's stupid, and move on. But amazing stuff. I love it. Guys, let's shift gears a little bit. I saved some of the personal stuff for last because I think it's fun, and sometimes if people are still listening, it helps them get to know you guys a little better. Ryan, what do you, if you have free time? I know you don't sleep or really have free time, but what's something about you that people don't know, or if an agent's watching, something personal? You mentioned the benefit of personal connections.
Yeah. Well, I have a lot of really strange interests, or at least they seem disjointed when you see them on a list. But some things that I connect with other agents and just people in general on. I'm kind of like pretty big in the automotive industry. I follow it. It was actually going to be my first career, but didn't end up happening that way. So I consider myself an automotive enthusiast. Also, I do a fair bit of photography. So I try to post as much as I can on Instagram, and I have like my Instagram relationships with like random realtors from across the country sometimes, or like I got all these people in Florida that are following me, and I'm like, I cannot do business with you yet, but I got to find a way to make that work. And then
referral fees. We need to create a referral network.
Yeah, I don't charge any money for referrals, but and then more recently I've started to go down the cryptocurrency investment rabbit hole, which is frankly a fascinating like intellectual endeavor, and it's just pretty cool to see the formation of kind of what we've referred to as like the internet of money. So anyway, pretty cool stuff happening there. I love talking about that. For some reason, most of the happy hour conversations that I have, people come up to me and they're like, hey, can you tell me about Bitcoin? And it's like, it's not a secret. Like, it's not underground. Like, we could talk about this. There's CME futures on this. There's a Senate banking committee hearing. I just love all that stuff. So, in fact, shameless plug, I just set up which is very easy to do. I mean, anybody can do it, but you can set up a Coinbase commerce account. Very straightforward, and you can accept cryptocurrency through them, and they will hold it in their wallets, and you can convert it to US dollars as soon as you get it. You don't have to keep it in crypto if you don't want, but I set up like a little promotion. So it's like I'm following Drew's pricing model, $329 flat rate up to $4. if you use crypto, whereas our normal inspection is going to average around $420 is about what we get. So it's a nice little discount. And if nothing else, it's just another way to take, here's an interest that I have, and I tied it into home inspection somehow. Like, you wouldn't think that you could make that reach, but
I love it.
I will reach.
That's why we have you guys on. That's why we're having you guys on here, because no other home inspection podcast can be talking about cryptocurrency. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's fun, and it's worth it. It's part of our society and part of our future. So it's really cool that we're even having this conversation mixed in with home inspections. What do you want to be doing in 5 years, Ryan?
In 5 years, my goal is to have helped 5,000 people in some way, whether it's grow their business or develop their, their personal life or whatever it is to help them grow. Because frankly, I think it's the only way that I'm going to grow is like, not that I have it all figured out, but you learn a lot by teaching people things. And I like teaching people things about themselves and that I kind of see. And that's kind of fun for me. So yeah, I mean, like, hopefully we'll be successful in business and, make millions of dollars and everything. And that's fine. But frankly, that's kind of the easy part. I think the hard part is, okay, how do you help more people? How do you bring more people up and show them how to do it too? And so to the extent I can do that, that's my mission right now.
I love it. I love it. Drew, we'll wrap up with some personal stuff with you. You don't sleep either. But what do you do when you're not growing your businesses and launching multiple endeavors?
I mean, a lot of it spent with the fiance June. I have a 6-year-old daughter, so that takes up that's where I like to put most of my time when I'm not doing things. Most recently was me rupturing my Achilles at her birthday party. I had surgery on the 22nd of December. So I was doing the Ninja Warrior course and running up the little curved wall, and it busted in half. So I was like crawling away from it, just not a pride.
Oh my gosh.
But I play a lot of soccer, actually. I was a goalkeeper in college before I joined the Army. I still play indoor, and obviously I'm in a little bit of a hiatus now. I'm playing a men's outdoor league too that we've won our men's championship here in Colorado Springs a couple times. I'm an avid weightlifter. I'm in the gym every morning at 4:30 a.m. Then I start, I love the business portion of it. I mean, that's the thing, is like, this is just fun. I mean, this is just good time doing all these kinds of things and meeting guys like, like you and Ryan. And now recently it's been, jumping on the phone when, Ryan and I are figuring out the EST, the elite sales tactic side, or like spitballing ideas. Like, it's fun. And obviously, like he said, hey, if millions and millions of dollars comes from all these things, that's the byproduct. But mostly it's just been how fun the whole process is, and like the people that I've met, the different, like, hearing an opinion from somebody where I come up with an idea or have someone say, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. It's like, cool. Then I come back with something else. But it's like the process is the most fun. And I worry sometimes that, like, this is going to be some of the best parts, is like, the starting out. So I think that's why I like to start things again, because I see AmPro is on its path now. It's moving. It's capturing market share. It was cash flow positive within like 3 months of us starting it, and it just continues to go from there. And now it's more about, for my transition is to be, more of a brand ambassador. If home inspectors out there that are like, hey, I just don't want to do that part, but I want to be, like we talked about, consolidation is helping them, and it might be that they own their own business and they're an affiliate of an AmPro, or they're an affiliate of somebody else. But I think having these friendships and everything inside of it has been incredible. As far as, really just soccer, hanging out with my kids. I used to skydive. When I was in the Army, I did a lot of the military free fall stuff. I did civilian skydiving as well. I've stopped with that because apparently, when I was in, opening a parachute with another 120 pounds of equipment on at night and smashing the ground hurts your back. I didn't know. So, but
who knew?
Yeah, I know, right? But I've gone more of into a chill sort of lifestyle, where the thrill of the things that I'm really passionate about is business. I mean, I'll sit and talk to people. If someone just calls me up, I'm sure there's some guys that probably listen to this. It's something, maybe you two guys too, is that you get me on the phone I will talk. I got to just tell you, just feel free anytime anyone calls me to engage on a business conversation, just to hang up on me when you've had enough. It is just such a fun experience. I just can't even, it gets me like pumped up. It used to be the thrill of doing counterterrorism operations kind of things, right? And now it's like the thrill of, building a business and, seeing where it can go. And honestly, to me, it's almost more terrifying and more exciting than the CT side of things.
Yeah, and I love that you say that because I'm similar and we're all like-minded, and hopefully people that are listening and watching have that competitive fire. They want to succeed, but then they fall in love with the process of growing and providing value. And like at the end of the day, if that's not your mindset as an inspector, I think it sets you up for failure. To say you got to fall in love with delivering value and providing good services and running a good business. Because I agree. I wake up and I don't feel bad about working a lot because it's what I enjoy. I have to work less. I have to work on working less. So great stuff, guys. Any parting shots, anything you guys want to make the people aware of or leave them with before we wrap up?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to go back to the whole, when they talk about vendors, because there's just been all sorts of craziness out there about people like, oh, the vendor's doing this. And like Ryan was talking about the data disclosure and all that stuff, is like, you have to realize that you're running a business and your business is valuable and you have valuable information with inside that business, whether it's strategies or like the reports that we have. And if the inspectors themselves don't come up with an idea of how to make it profitable or to do something right on their own terms, then somebody else is going to do it. Somebody else is going to do it. I think aligning yourself with the right companies, like I said, hey, when I started essentially my business within Spectora pretty quickly and have grown inside of it. And I think it's because of, our values, align in the way we do business and the way we see, it's fun to grow together. But I think people need to just stay away. I'll go back to this one, stay away from the bad forums, stay away from, hey, the guy that's been doing it 20 years is still maybe doing 200 to 300 inspections a year, telling you how to do, hey, don't do this. You shouldn't do that. Don't talk to realtors. It's like, this is a new generation coming in, and it's a generation that, we're more tech savvy, and then they need to go out there and really push the sales aspect of it. I was like, there's nothing wrong with being a salesperson. There is something wrong with being a horrible amateur salesperson, but there is something very good about being a professional, knowing what you're doing, knowing your product, and bringing great value to it, and doing the little things like flipping the breaker. And that goes back to, hey, enjoy your work. I mean, that's the thing, is people complain when somebody is like, this doesn't work now, this, and it's something simple. It's like, hey, go there and engage with them. Enjoy it. It's your job. You made money. It's your money. It's going into your business account. Who cares? It's not a chore,
Yeah.
So just enjoy the process. Enjoy it.
And I would say if you have hesitancy selling your services, I think it's time to reevaluate the value you're providing. Because if you look at Drew, everybody, he doesn't have much hesitancy selling because he doesn't feel like he's selling people on anything. It's delivering value and just letting them know about what you're going to do for them. So again, new inspectors, experienced inspectors, think about what you're literally providing and how it's different if you have trouble selling yourself or your services.
Yeah, and just the last part of that is like, you hear the sales guy. It's like, I could sell ice to an Eskimo, or I could sell shit to a garbage man.
Yeah.
So like, well, if that's what you're doing, it's like, why the hell would you sell that to them? Because they got plenty of it, each of them, right? So it's what you talk about. Is like, hey, it's not being like a shyster salesman or like the used car salesman. It's being when I tell people like, hey, I'm a salesperson, it's because I'm proud of it. And it's like you said, is that I could sit here and talk through product knowledge. And I'm like, to me, I'm almost in shock when someone goes with somebody else, because like, we're just that much better. I know for a fact that the other inspectors here aren't going to answer their phone at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., or they're not going to take the time to go do that. So I'm like, why aren't you using us? It's like, I'm sorry. Like, you're just going to be so disappointed anywhere else you go.
I love it. Ryan, anything to leave folks with as we wrap up here?
Well, I just got disconnected because my phone went into over temperature mode.
No worries.
So, but I feel like it's kind of a good lesson. Like, you need to be everything that you got at your disposal, whether the business tools, vendors, things that you're paying for or not paying for, Facebook, Instagram. Make sure you're abusing them. and beating them up because you paid for them or they're free, and there's really no shortage of energy on this planet. So go create some energy, put it into those platforms, convince other people to help you to put it into those platforms, or write them a check to convince them to help you with that. But you need to be firing on all 12 cylinders. This is not a Prius, okay? There really needs to be a lot of people involved in your operation, and the vendors can be a huge resource there. The cautionary point to that is that make sure that these vendors are aligned with you. Make sure they're compliant. There are vendors out there, and I know experienced people that are doing things and working with vendors that are not legally compliant. I'm not going to name any names because it's not important, but make sure you're doing due diligence on what these people are doing, how they're offering it. And the biggest thing is to make sure you have control over what's happening, control over the data, control over, being able to opt into things, not that you get automatically opted in, you have to opt out. You always want to have control over what's happening with your customers and your clients. There's nothing wrong with a relationship like that where there is valuable information that can also help your clients, by the way. But you want to make sure that you have absolute control over it, and that you can hold people accountable, because otherwise you're just guessing, and that you're going to get burned pretty bad.
Definitely. Well, guys, this has been an amazing first long form interview. Thank you so much for joining us. For those of you that have hung on this long, we're going to be doing more of these, but this is the first one, and you can see why we chose Ryan and Drew to work with here and chat. So make sure to subscribe to the channel, guys, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.
Peace out.